groans.
Really got the old man groans at the moment. Like everything. Yeah. Like,
What did you do to your back anyway?
Just between you and me, rolled over in bed and started screaming. I did something in the middle of the night where I just rolled over and then something twinged in my back and I just started going, ah! 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 Here we go. After our rip-roaring success that was episode 6, Ladies' Night, can only go...
You couldn't call it Ladies' Night in the end.
It was called Ladies' Night inside... I think the actual title on YouTube was Ladies' Night, was it?
I think so, in the thumbnail, right?
The thumbnail originally was, but then for some reason YouTube didn't like it.
YouTube went with the old yellow $sign.
If you see anything with a yellow $sign, well, you're not going to see it.
You won't see it.
Yeah.
Green $sign is the one you want.
Yeah, yellow $sign means...
Basically, no ads. Something's inappropriate.
Yeah. Could you think of me saying something inappropriate?
Whereas all your other stuff is fine, apparently.
Yeah, exactly. It
was
was
that one talking about women's rugby. Wow.
We were talking about women's rugby. We're trying to lift up the game, but apparently...
inappropriate.
The people at Google and YouTube are wild sexists. So that's another yellow...
we probably shouldn't be talking about this in like the first 30 seconds of the video, should we?
We'll get into it. But there was a lot of rugby over there.
There has been a fair bit of rugby.
Uh-huh.
The Rugby World Cup continues.
It does.
It's a bit of a weird state of affairs because you're used to the Rugby World Cup being with the men's, bang, 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 every day you got rugby. This is, you've got a weekend and then you got your full week's rest.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I kind of missed that. I kind of missed when like, on Thursday that's going to be Namibia versus Croatia. Not that those teams even play in the World Cup, but you know, like two random
teams that you might not normally watch.
Yeah, teams you might not know. Well, it is a bit like that because these are teams I might not normally watch.
That's true.
But playing in the biggest game in their lives.
That's true.
That's what the cool thing is.
But also right now you're looking at your weekend going, I may not have time for 6 hours of full-on rugby, so I'm going to pick one or two to watch. Whereas if it's 1 or 2 games a day, you can, I don't know, you can find more time in the day to watch it.
Yes, and my rugby schedule got completely shabozzled this weekend. Shabozzled is a word.
Okay.
It was very inconvenient and very inconsiderate of my ex-wife. You know what she did?
Oh, she had a baby.
She had a baby. Congratulations.
The bub and the mum healthy?
The bub and the mum are healthy. It's not my child, by the way. Somebody else's.
I met the guy. He was nice.
He was lovely.
You should have him on the podcast. He seemed like a great guy.
Doesn't I think he watches rugby a little bit, but he's an English guy.
He's an English guy.
Who's like a fanatical Spurs fan.
Okay.
Yeah. So
maybe we won't have him on the podcast then.
I don't have much to say about Spurs. The captain of the Spurs is also the captain of England. What's his name?
Harry Kane?
Harry Kane.
I watch sports.
Maybe we should change this to a football podcast.
Need to get more views than last week.
Last week
tanked.
Just so you know, like... no, this isn't the world's biggest podcast by any stretch of the imagination, but we usually get around 6,500 views, you know, relatively easily, like, you know, and that's fine.
There's a core audience.
Yeah, that's nice. But last week, with the thumbnail and with the title being all about women and having women's rugby players on the thumbnail, we sadly got to just over 600. So those 600 viewers, we appreciate your
Champions.
time.
I'm giving you thumbs up for those of you listening on Spotify or Google Podcasts or iHeartRadio.
Yes, absolutely. And also, I'm trying to name one that you didn't name, Stitcher. I appreciate Apple. Yeah, you already said Spotify. But also, if you're coming back and you didn't watch the episode, it's okay. Don't sweat it.
Don't worry about it.
I thought it was a good podcast, though.
It was. I thought the banter was good.
That was good banter. Yeah. Oh.
But there was more rugby on.
There was.
I didn't see all of the games in full. I certainly went back and watched all the highlights. The one that had the main billing was obviously France and England.
Yeah.
Now that's an interesting one because I watched that one as a neutral, maybe with unrealistic expectations of the game because these are the two big powerhouse teams. And sometimes you find that, like, there's been numerous men's World Cup finals which have been like triless kind of arm wrestles.
Yes.
This game was an arm wrestle, but I had a wee look after I watched the game thinking I wasn't that fussed. But the reaction was generally pretty good by like the English and French fans. Like they loved it. They loved the intensity of it.
I guess so, but as a neutral,
it wasn't the easiest watch.
No, it was a bit tough, and I think I watched your man's live stream through it, and you got a little bit drunk.
I got on the drink during that one.
He got
towards the second half. Yeah,
he got out some strange exotic Chinese.
I lubricated the experience.
His asshole. Oh no. Yeah, so that was fun doing that, and I also find that I've got to be honest, like I enjoy watching people's live stream, but I oftentimes sit there going, I'm going to make a really great comment and make a comment, and then I look down, then I look up and go, oh yeah, the rugby, you know.
Yeah.
I kind of forget about the rugby sometimes, so maybe my full attention wasn't completely where it
Got
needed
a
to
bit
be.
distracted.
But it was, yeah, and that's easy for me. But in terms of the game itself, yeah, it didn't feel like a wonderful spectacle. Just like felt a lot like a hard Northern Hemisphere rugby game. You know, where two teams were wanting to go at it, wanting to win, but nothing potentially spectacular happened. But just the fact that it was the French, you were like, oh, something could happen.
And then they did pull something out of nowhere. Like they've been not at the races apart from a massive defensive shift. They scored a try, like basically one shot, one kill kind of play.
Yeah. Which is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
But what's your opinion on, what's the name of the number 10, the first five for the French? I'm putting you on the spot here, aren't I?
Yes. I can picture her face.
There's a picture of her face. There's a Jean in it.
Yeah.
And that's the name
Bourgeon?
right there. Bourgeon?
Drouin.
Yeah.
There's no Jean in it at all.
She seems to be a bit of a Quay Cooper to me.
Yeah, she's
rocks
a bit
of diamonds.
She's a bit all over the shop. Yeah.
She's all over the place. And but you know, like that was top billing. We can talk a little bit more about it.
To be fair, they did lose their 9, Sansuis.
Right.
Like she's just. I don't know. It'd be like us losing Peake Smith back in. You know, I know he's still good, but yeah, she's just.
She's usually the one who drives the ship, basically.
She just does magic. She pulls rabbits out of hats. So that's just what she does. So they lost her pretty early, which obviously didn't help their cause. But
so that was top billing. But the other game in that pool was bottom billing for the tournament for this weekend, which was really South Africa versus Fiji.
And that was the game of the round.
Best game of the round.
Absolutely.
I don't write notes, but no, you know, I said to myself, I said, if I did write notes, I thought this to myself, I would write beautiful rugby chaos. Like that's what it felt like.
That's what it was.
I don't know. Have you ever played squash?
I have, badly.
Yeah, but even when you play badly,
it's still fun, eh?
It's still fun.
It's a crazy game.
I'm not saying it was a bad game of squash. What I'm trying to say is, even when you're bad at squash, you find someone that you play against that is at the same level as you, and you have these incredibly long rallies that are just full of dog shit, but like they're wildly entertaining, and really, really fun. But like these two are obviously not dog shit teams or anything, but they're not the most. Don't have the highest ability out of all the teams.
That was Fiji's first ever Rugby World Cup win. Obviously, they're only second time playing, but yeah.
And and there was a lot of good rugby out there. There really was, and just it kept on going.
Had a cliffhanger finish.
I remember even the first half before the cliffhanger finish, and it was the Fijians were 7 points up. And I was just like, how is there not more tries in this game? There was just so much rugby that
I looked at the stats, because I love my stats. The tackling percentages in that game were pretty low. It felt like definitely a game where more tries were on the cards.
And then with the French-England game, the tackling percentage would have been right up there.
It was pretty high.
But what game would you rather watch, you know? Exactly. And the irritating thing about that whole day, though, is can we stop doing this at Rugby World Cup 2021 or 2022 or 2026, I don't know what year we're in. Can we stop saying that we have a sellout? And then you turn up.
Did they say that?
They said there was
because we looked online, there were genuinely no tickets left.
There were so many tickets. Like, there was so much space.
I guess that's the thing with the 3 games. Is it possible, like, you get a third?
The banks weren't even full for the...
Yeah, I know.
For the New Zealand
game. I think a lot of them were honestly the corporates.
Shat on me 3 times. Like 3 times. No, not 3 times. 2 times. Shat on me twice. Shat on me 3 times. It's the same thing. I was like, I'm happy to go along. We talked about going. And then you said we should go this weekend. I was like, there's no more tickets left. This was a week out from the game. The one game where they say sell out, and I'll be like, heard that before. And I'll be like, no, chock a block in there.
Yeah. I wonder if you just rocked up. Let me in.
Like, all that bank space, quite a cool little stadium to watch rugby a bit. Yeah. I've never watched a game of rugby there.
My son plays there. That's his local club. He's played on that field.
Oh, la-dee-da.
La-dee-da.
Oh, good old Garrett.
They got smashed. Yep.
I reckon we should make a podcast just purely about your son's rugby team. Just talk about who's been traded in, what the players are doing, where they need to work on, what their strengths are.
He's playing tackle next year, so that could be quite interesting.
I'm jumping all over the show like a fart in a bottle at the moment. But I just want to, while we were on the Fiji and South Africans, number 3 for Fiji, is it Sarita or something? Absolute big monster, towering unit. Yeah, giant, an incredible game. Because, you know, when you play at age group level, there'd always be a guy on the other team who was just a freak. And you'd be like, okay, don't worry about him. Yeah. He'll be good for 2 scrums and 1 carry. And then he'll be absolutely pooped. And rather foolish of me, I kind of thought that about her. I was like, she might have 2 scrums and then they'll wheel her off after 15 minutes. But she was everywhere.
She kept going.
She kept on going. And like for all the the Fijian flair and all that sort of stuff, one of their go-to plays was like, chuck it to the big girl and let her take it up, you know? And she just had South Africans who aren't small ladies themselves.
That's right.
Just crawling all over her as she just kept on going.
Yeah.
Like
that was almost like age group stuff at times, just watching that one big kid who just smashes everybody else.
It was so good.
Yeah.
I saw an interview with her afterwards and she was a darling.
Really?
Beautiful big smile and stuff. Nice. And they said, what do you think your strengths are and what do you bring to the game? She was like, my size. You know, like she sounded like an Australian. But,
great investigative journalism.
Yeah, exactly.
Really well thought out questions. Yeah. The Black Ferns had a big win. I mean, kind of as expected. They were always going to beat Wales. They beat them pretty comfortably. Although we did concede a couple of more tries, which when I look at the Black Ferns as the era, I think maybe that's what other teams will target.
A lot of great things to talk about with the Black Ferns in terms of their performance. But the big concerning factor was they got absolutely demolished by that Welsh scrum.
Yeah.
Absolutely ripped apart. And I looked at our front row and I thought, well, there's some towering units
pretty
in there.
Useful, yeah. Useful looking front row.
And they were just getting absolutely ringed, you know. And I thought Mike Cron would have them in pretty good shape for those sort of encounters. But when they changed the front rows, it kind of solidified a little bit. But yeah, that was a little bit worrying because
when you think about the likes of an England or someone on the cards.
Because Wales, Scotland last week, had relative parity in the scrums. I can't really remember any of the team being wildly more powerful than the other.
I seem to remember Wales being pretty good at set piece time from when I've watched them in the Women's Six Nations. Like it's not an area that they tended to get beaten whenever they, pretty comfortably by France or England. But I don't remember them ever having a bad scrum. But yeah, that was concerning from a New Zealand point of view. But I mean, our backs are just phenomenal.
Yeah, and not just the backs, but one thing I did like, when the game was a little bit tense in the first 20 minutes or so, what I did like was that the forwards weren't afraid to go do some pick and goes and get some real hard yards and get some great front football for the...
Earn the right.
Earn the right. But they did, you know, and they were really affected around those fringes. So... that was really, really pleasing to see. And they seem to go back to that at any point where they were under a little bit of stress and under a little bit of pressure. And then they were able to always wrestle back momentum, which I thought was really, really smart. Because when you're in a team with the likes of Woodridge and Ruby Tui and those sort of classy backline, your temptation is just to fling it out wide.
Straight. Play number 1, give it to Woodman.
Give it to Woodman, but then fumble it on the way there or something and do something silly or just do it when it's really not on.
She is pretty incredible though.
Holy shit. Holy shit. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think she's in her early 30s, so this may be the last time you see her at a World Cup, so I guess it's a good thing you're seeing her doing what she's doing.
Yes, because she's been... Well, how many World Cups has she won? Would this be her third? Or
I don't know.
Stats. Imagine if I said that to you. How many World Cups has Richie McCaw won? You know, I guess. Well, that's the difference, isn't it? It doesn't get the profile that the other game does. But you know what's exciting for me? When I watched the English and the Fijians were able to expose us a little bit the week before. When you're able to play, run it, because the Black Ferns were still running it from anywhere with tremendous skill. When you throw that at them, when you throw tremendous skill at them, they do have frailties, and the Kiwis look like that they have a game that will be very troubling for them if they just want to take it to them and not play, Northern Hemisphere rugby, play Kiwi rugby. Am I crazy? I think we've got a chance. I think we can do this, ladies. We can do it. Oh fuck.
That's a great reaction.
What was that? Was that my battery? Oh,
I think so.
I charged it today. Okay, something very unfortunate just happened then.
Tony said that the Black Ferns were a genuine chance.
Genuine chance.
And then the camera died.
It did, and I said something. You just watched it. You know what I said. But as it happened, it just it made actually like a real like
sad
sound of death, basically.
Yep.
And it turns out I had charged my camera today, but I didn't actually plug the charger into the wall, which is
doesn't work as well that way.
no, it's tough. It's tough just trying to willpower into it.
Yep.
Oh well.
Who else played? Australia beat Scotland. 2-pointer.
Poor old Scots.
I know that's two
It's
heartbreakers.
shite being Scottish. But they came back into it. No, they were
ahead. They were ahead 12
out.
points.
I made a cardinal sin in that game, actually. I was really enjoying it.
Yeah.
I was enjoying it. I was like, this is great. I'm in rugby mood right now. But then I just got out my phone and then just started scrolling through Twitter, as you do, because I have to look at 18 screens while I'm doing anything these days.
Sure.
Is it just me, or when you need to take a shit, do you...
You have to get your phone?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. Whenever I need to take a shit, I go, oh man, I need to take a shit. Where's
my phone?
Where's my phone? And then, okay.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Make you think twice next time someone's like, can you pass me my phone? Nah.
Nah, buddy.
You get that yourself.
No,
I know where it's been.
I know where because everybody's toilet is their bathroom pal.
That's right.
Anyway, so I was scrolling through Twitter and I was enjoying it. It was like one of the many stoppages our beautiful game gives us. And then I see 14-12 and I'm like...
What happened? Yeah.
But then I'm just like, oh, that would have been good to watch, is what I was thinking. And then I thought, oh, I'll try and watch. But as soon as you know the result, something just goes from it. And then, so I kind of just sort of skipped ahead a bit and watched the last 10 minutes, which was pretty heartbreaking for
the Scots.
For our Scottish friends.
Yeah.
Two games they could have won. And then they won those 2 games. They're basically in it, aren't they?
I think so. Yeah, most of the teams. I think all the teams who are 2-0 are through. So the Scots.
Sad.
Sorry,
Scotland, because they're not gonna. They're not gonna beat the. Well, they could beat
the Black Ferns,
but even if they do pull out some sort of miraculous victory in that game, it
may not be enough. I think it'll.
No, they can't. It can't be enough because they would have got 1, and either Australia or Wales would be getting 2 this weekend.
Right, true.
Even if they get some sort of draw.
USA beat Japan.
Got a lot of things to say about that game.
It was to and fro.
It was a game.
3 lead changes. I only watched the highlights of it, admittedly.
Yes. I watched parts of it, but I can't really recollect much from it.
I remember the American hooker got a pretty long distance try. She went 20 plus meters.
Yeah.
And the Japanese winger scored a 1 at the death. The wee kind of shimmying
They just look a
run.
lot bigger than them out there. These Japanese girls look like real Japanese girls. They're not big, are they?
They had a nice set play for their first try. They had a nice kind of sneaky lineup move. I think it was the halfback that went over. But it's like kind of one play to your strengths, right? Don't try to brutalise them. Use a bit of nous.
Yeah, absolutely. They can just get a little bit more agile, a bit quicker around the pack if they can play real Japanese rugby, which is what I think they're trying to play.
Fast, yeah, and show a bit of ingenuity.
That's good. But have you noticed the whole headgear that's super low? That's what it looks like to me whenever I see them play.
I did see a picture, guys. I was looking for information about the players, and I was looking through the profiles of that Japanese winger who scored, and she was wearing headgear. And then I saw her her profile picture had no headgear. During the game, she had headgear, and I was like, her face looks a bit different when it's all kind of squished up in the headgear. But I mean, that's men's players is the same. Sometimes you see a guy like, holy crap, who's that guy?
Yeah, I always felt that was Steve Renouf.
Who?
He's a great Aboriginal rugby league player.
Oh.
Yeah, fantastic for the Broncos and the Kiwis. Oh, the Kiwis. Broncos and the Aussies.
Kangaroos.
And, great Queenslander.
Okay.
Yeah.
Always wore headgear?
Always wore headgear. Was a fantastic player, one of the superstars, but then could walk down the road and people were like...
Do I know that guy? Looks vaguely familiar. Okay.
Yeah, he's got a face.
Okay. Who else played? The Canadians are 2-0 with their victory over Italy. That was another one of the games
they made that for one of the teams that people are kind of fancying a bit. They made it relatively hard work. The Italians were definitely in that game. They scored first, didn't they?
Yeah, the Italians scored first within 30 seconds, and their fullback got a try. But I think the Canadians just dominated possession. They made the Italians do a lot of defensive work, and they got a good maul.
Yeah.
The Canadians have got a genuinely good maul, which is just such a weapon. It's often the difference. I mean, it's hard with the women's game when you've got some teams which are pro, some teams which are amateur. I know the Canadians are still amateur, but they're more like a pro team.
Yeah. They look like they're doing very well with the resources they have, haven't they? Because they could make a semi-A. I heard that we're on a collision course for France.
Okay.
Basically, so if France comes second.
Well, France's defense in that game up against what we saw from the Black Ferns attack would be pretty tasty.
Yes. Yeah. I think.
But England didn't really. I mean,
I wasn't overwhelmed with either.
England's attack, I felt, looked a bit pedestrian compared to what we know they can do. I mean, maybe some people suggest keeping their powder dry for the knockout stages.
I don't know. Like, World Cups are funny things, and we know when you go in as a favourite, it can get
the pressure.
The pressure can get too much here, and you play too much within your structures, and you end up sort of just not playing enough rugby. Yeah, like we saw it with the All Blacks that was pretty much what the All Blacks did in 2007. So,
right. It was interesting reading some of the comments from like respected rugby journos and whatnot about that, saying. Some people were saying, "Oh, great attack meets great defence," and they kind of cancel each other out. Whereas I think I saw an article from New Zealand, which is basically like, "Do England not have a plan B?"
I actually blamed your stream for my take on that game,
right?
Because I was in your stream and I was saying, "Boring, this sucks," and you were like, "This is just." You were. I think at one point you actually got a hammer and just started smacking yourself in the nuts. Yeah, like they
must have blocked that one out with all the alcohol.
Yeah, it must have been. Like, and I think some of the comments were like, "Oh, geez, this one will keep going." And then I walked away from it going, and admittedly, I spent most of my time going, "Funny dick joke, come up with a funny dick joke." And so maybe I wasn't paying full attention. Right. And then I I went on Twitter and read some stuff, and people were like,
intensity was great.
And they were like, I woke up dreaming about the French defense. And I was like, what, did you?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird one. Sometimes you just see yourself having a different take on things.
Well, maybe if you're invested.
Yeah, that's what I reckon. Yeah. If you were English or French, that game finishes on a knife edge. Like I said, France, one strike, managed to get it. England kept as quiet as the French defense, was, strangling them. But I mean, I remember a game from 2018 between Wales and Australia, which was 9-6, not a single try, and I loved that game. Yeah, it was a masterclass, like David Pocock and Justin Tipuric, just defensive masterclass. I loved it. So I'm quite capable of watching.
I don't really remember it. Like when I think, that was a great defensive performance, I'm thinking big hits.
Right.
Like if I'm thinking, okay, it was a great defensive, maybe like with defense, you just want to stop the damn player over and over and over and over and over again. But I don't remember with the English.
The French dropped a lot of ball, and the English dropped a little bit.
The French have dropped a lot of ball in both of their games.
Like and the kicking was, I thought, but I don't know, a lot of
aimless kicking, I thought. And there wasn't really a lot of anything going on that makes you go, ooh, wow. And it just seemed like to me the game, I know the English had the ball most of the time, but they didn't seem to spend a lot of time inside the 22. I don't know, do you have the stats?
No.
We don't have the stats. But I don't know. It was just a game of rugby. Yeah,
we're just being negative pricks, and it was actually a titanic clash.
What a game. That would be the game that we look back on that really changed the face of women's rugby forever.
New Zealanders only like tries.
Yeah, we do.
Useless.
Because tries are the shit. And speaking of some amazing tries, those... I'm backing them, even though we had that terrible omen with the camera. I'm backing
the Black Ferns.
I'm backing the Black Ferns. Some of their tries that they scored. That try that Ruby Tui's got scored at the end. That was set up by Woodman. Where she stepped two players like beautiful. Left foot steps and then just fling it out to Ruby. That was some tasty.
That's highlight reel rugby.
Shit. Yep. Champagne rugby there. And there were lots of little moments like that. And I think if they can just continue to build on that, and because I think maybe this whole idea of going in not being the favourites just has given them a bit of a license to just
play.
To express. Go with Fijiana on it. It's beautiful stuff.
I think the final round, which is obviously going to decide how the knockout stages look, it's largely looking relatively predictable. Like the Black Ferns should win, France and England should win, Canada's got the USA, which could be pretty tasty, and Australia got Wales, which should be tasty. But I think most of the games are looking...
So which are the ones that actually are deciding the spots? So Australia-Wales, that's my game that I'm
looking forward to. And then I think the US probably need to beat Canada because they've got 1 win, 1 loss because they lost to the Italians, and the Italians should beat Japan.
Canada's qualified then?
Yeah, because they're 2 from 2.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Okay. Canada's qualified. The French, who have they got?
Fiji.
And oh yeah, they do. And they, you know what's crazy though? I actually kind of like the sound of that game because if that Fiji team that played for the first 40 minutes against England turn up, and then they can play that for 80 minutes, who knows? Shit can happen. You know, France, with how much drop ball they've had, they could trip up. They'd have lost, and they in 2011 in the game, different sex, different gender. I don't even know how to phrase any of that anymore.
You're in trouble one way or the other.
Exactly. They lost to Tonga
in
the pool stages, and they made the World Cup final. You know, I would love to see Fiji get up for that. Just go crazy blitz, Fijiana, incredible, wild rugby. Just when in doubt, give it to that towering unit, and amazing stuff could happen. Who knows? But then they could also get pumped by 70 points.
That's true. The French do have a pretty good attack when they unleash, but we haven't seen it. Not really. We saw it a little bit at the end of that game against South Africa, but anyway.
But that's the French. They'll probably look like crap all the way up until they knock New Zealand out of it.
Probably. That would be about right, wouldn't it?
A knockout game.
So that's the Women's World Cup. It's going good.
It is. It's going good. It's been great rugby. As I said last week, if you're not watching it, start watching it. It's great.
I should say though.
Say it.
World Rugby, we love to give shit to World Rugby.
I love you guys.
They're pretty slack at getting the fucking highlights up.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted to have a look at the highlights of the games that I hadn't seen when I got up this morning, and the Sunday games highlights are still not up. Well, at least this morning.
That wouldn't be the case with the men's, would it?
No, the men's ones are up within an hour.
Yeah.
From the finish of the game.
Come on, World Rugby. Get it together. I thought you cared about women's sport. Bastards. And you've also mentioned, we talked about this, I don't know if it was on here or off here, but this whole problem around calling it the 2021 World Cup.
Yeah.
It's not particularly searchable.
No.
You know, it's not intuitive to find.
If you type in rugby and the results around this current World Cup, it's people are searching for Rugby World Cup 2022. Wonder why that might be.
Yeah, because it's happening.
And also people are searching Women's Rugby World Cup.
Can't we... I don't think we're ever going to forget the fact there was this massive pandemic, right? That changed everybody's life in a relatively dramatic way for a fairly long period of time. I think people will be able to get over the confusion of looking back in the history books going, oh, that one has 5 years. That one's a year off.
It's like when you look back and you're seeing like, hey, what happened with some trophy from 1939 to 1945? They weren't competing. We're not like, I demand answers.
They were fighting Nazis. Wouldn't it be stupid like in 1946 when they finally got tournaments back on, they called everything the 1938 Women's Rugby World Cup.
Yeah, I know. It just seems...
why don't you just call it 2022? Like 2022, and like we were talking about this before, this whole idea of the 2021 Rugby World Cup in itself, you've looked up the search terms. The search term everyone's looking for is Women's World Cup
or 2022. Basically whatever it's not being called is what people are looking for.
And you might say, hey, that's wildly sexist, they don't call the Men's World Cup. Put that little
sorry
it's all right, it's joining us for fun.
There we go.
They call the Men's World Cup the World Cup. Call it the Men's World Cup.
Yeah, I would be happy with that.
Who gives a rat's ass?
If it's clearer.
Exactly. Just enable people to find it.
I used to work
call it the year it's in and who's playing. That's it.
I used to work at the university here in Auckland, and they used to work at the university. They used to have this blurb about resetting your password, and it would say your password must be 8 characters long.
Right.
I just got back from overseas. I was working in the call center, and I was getting calls from people saying, I've made my password 20 characters long, and it's still saying it's wrong. But it's like, no, it has to be exactly 8 characters long. Because when you hear 8 characters long...
I was immediately thinking...
at least 8 characters, right?
And that's irritating. Then I've got to think of a specific word that's 8
8 characters long. But that's the same thing. It's
just
like... I would give that feedback to the people who owned that page that says 8 characters, and they're like, no, that's clear. That's perfectly clear.
Yeah,
like, that's not the feedback I'm getting on the phones when people are saying, "Can try 10 characters and it's still not working." They're not pleased when I say no. It has to be exactly. Why don't you have the word exactly? I feel like this is the same situation. It may be technically correct, but I feel like there's a more intuitive way to do it.
Absolutely, and you got to go with common sense and reason sometimes.
Especially if you're a relatively casual rugby fan, and you're just 100%. Like, wait, there's a World Cup on this year? I wasn't expecting that. Even
just curiosity, like, I'd like to check out the Women's World Cup. I'm not a bigot, but I know women are playing in its World Cup.
Yeah, exactly.
Women's World Cup. Oh, mustn't be on. I can't find it anywhere. All I can find is this guy with a whiteboard.
Look at that guy.
Yeah.
Other rugby. What's been going on?
I told you. Can we just jump to one thing? I told you today I was going to give you a fun fact about the Rugby League World Cup that's happening in the UK right now. Right. Just kicked off over the weekend. I won't go through any results. We won't talk about any of the games.
Okay.
But I'll talk about one game actually. Okay. So I tuned in this morning. Kick off the Kiwis versus Lebanon of all teams.
Is Michael Checker involved with them?
You fucking ruined my fact.
Oh, really?
So this is the thing. I turn it on, I'm getting the toast ready for the girl, doing all the stuff, and I see he's in the crowd singing the Lebanese national anthem, and I'm like, oh, look at the guy.
He is involved.
Yeah, I was like, he must be Lebanese and all that sort of thing. I thought he was just over there.
But he's part of the coaching staff, isn't he, or something?
Well, yeah. And then I just think to myself, and they're holding on him for a long time, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, they're very interested in the fact he's there. Bit of a celebrity there, and Walkshire, wherever the heck they are, some one of those northern towns. And then all of a sudden I see that Matt King's sitting next to him. Matt King is a former rugby league great that played for New South Wales, Australia, and the Melbourne Storm.
Appropriate name there.
Yeah,
King.
Yeah, he was a very good player. Got into a great fight with Manu Vatuvai once on the sidelines.
Who won the fight?
They're both towering units.
Yeah.
Big boys.
Isn't Manu Vatuvai in prison?
He is in prison.
Okay.
Sorry, Manu. The Beast. So I was like, what the heck? And then they're like, he's the coach. He's not like, he's the head coach of the Lebanese rugby league
and the Pumas in rugby union.
And the Pumas in rugby union. And like, then after the game, he's doing post-match exactly the same, all that sort of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, and if New Zealand ever wanted to take a Sonny Bill William, RTS, anybody at the moment, the player that would want to do that to would be Joey Manu. Joey Manu, watch his highlights. Okay. Watch his highlights on that Lebanon game. Lebanon are actually quite a good team, believe it or not, in rugby league.
Okay, a lot of Australian-born Lebanese players.
That's right. Yeah, some really, really good players in there.
Right.
We won 34-12.
Okay.
Just
that's
for the
pretty
record.
relatively close.
Yeah, for Lebanon. I
had only heard about the Checker thing. The reason I knew that is because when he got appointed the Pumas coach, people were in the comments going, isn't he coaching the Lebanese league team? I was like,
He is. He's legit coaching the Lebanese rugby league team.
Okay.
Which is wild.
Yeah. This is why you read the comments on your YouTube channel, because you will find out some pretty wild stuff.
Yeah. I did no idea. I thought he was just and maybe someone of Lebanese descent.
It was just having a gander.
It's just like, oh, well, I'm in the UK, might as well go along. But yeah, there he was.
I wonder if he's coaching because the Pumas, I guess those guys will still be with their clubs, but he'll be getting ready for some November games.
I think the Lebanese don't exactly get together very much, and they're basically just made up of Australian players who play a bit of first grade, maybe a bit of reserve grade, and actually a couple of actually very good players. They got Moses and
you could just say Smith and Jones.
Yeah.
I'd be like,
Walla wank wank. Yeah. Anyway, that was my fun fact.
Good.
There we go.
Maybe I spoiled it for you.
Yeah, I know. As soon as I said it, you're like, doesn't he? I was like, I had it all planned out. Yeah.
Wow.
Any other rugby that happened in the weekend?
I watched some URC. I watched Munster, which is your team.
Yes.
Munster, who've been a bit average this season.
But we got up, didn't we?
Beat the Bulls and bullied them up front. The Bulls seem to be
2
one
weeks
of those.
in a row they've been bullied.
Yeah. They seem to be one of those teams at the moment where it's like at home we're the business and away we're kind of shit.
Flat track bullies, yeah.
Isn't flat track bullies when you play someone who's weak, you smash them, and then when you play good teams, I'm probably not the guy to ask about this. Flat track it's a cricket reference.
It's a cricket reference, and it basically means that you play at home. You get
because your groundsman does the ground the way you like it.
Yeah.
Is that where that term comes from?
Well, as far as I'm aware, but there'll be someone go actually.
Well, I was using purple patch the wrong way for a long time until the YouTube comments corrected me.
How are you using purple
I used to think purple patch was bad.
Oh, mate.
Yeah.
I'd say to my mates, I'd be like, tell you what, this month, picked up 3 ladies.
Real purple patch.
Real purple patch. Yeah, none of them have been fully functional, but
yeah, I don't know why I thought that was bad. Purple patch doesn't sound that great.
Yeah.
Why is purple? I mean, why is it good, but why is it bad? It's neither. It's just a colour.
Purple's great. It's a great colour. Barney's purple. Purple haze. What other good things are purple?
Deep purple.
Deep purple. Absolutely.
The colour purple.
The Colour Purple, the movie?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a great movie.
Purple is a good colour.
Yeah, I like it. Let's have a moment of silence for purple. You know?
I think the Byzantines, didn't they do purple? Like the emperors used to wear purple? I could just be talking bollocks now, I don't know. I'm stretching my purple knowledge.
It's like a colour in Advent as well. Like one of the colours is... It's a Catholic thing.
Okay.
There's purple and
This is
Catholicism.
gold content.
This is some great stuff. This will definitely stay in.
Ospreys in the driving rain. Apparently it rains in Wales. They beat the Stormers, and the Stormers, despite their name, didn't play as well as they could in stormy weather.
No, they definitely didn't. And you know what? I really wasn't even that impressed with the Ospreys. I was thinking of them. I was like, I was watching them play, and I was like, you know how you want to play front foot rugby? I was like, so many players were just taking the ball off the ruck and just completely flat foot. And they just, for no reason, just stationary. They play flat foot rugby. Not front foot rugby, flat foot rugby. And I was like, what the?
That's an interesting tactic. We're trying to lure them into a false sense of security.
I was like, what is going on? Like, yeah, so that was a very, not wildly inspiring for either of them.
Keelan
really,
Giles is good. He's their winger.
Yes.
He's explosive.
Yeah, he looked very, very good. And they kept on freaking having an orgasm every time he touched the ball. Keelan Giles! And they got George North on the other wing, didn't they?
Yeah, he looked to have been injured early on, and I was like, for God's sake, no, George, no, but he was all right.
You're an Ospreys man, or is it?
Yeah,
I know you got the jacket.
Just have an Ospreys jacket.
You got an everything there, don't you?
Jackets, I'm actually relatively limited. Yeah.
Dumphy, send the man some jackets.
Don't have a Leinster jacket, just saying. But yeah, Leinster got a win. I think most of the big teams got wins, although Ulster went down to South Africa and got a win against the resurgent Lions side. So
I'm more interested at the bottom of the table because
Zebras winless.
Zebras are winless.
They played Scarlets, who were also winless.
This is what I'm saying. If you want to snap a losing streak, you need to play Benetton or you need to play.
Benetton's been alright. Benetton, I think, like 3 wins, 2 losses. They've been okay. Zebras none from 5.
Why did I think Benetton sucked the balls?
Because they sucked last year.
Alright, okay. Well,
they did get a hiding.
And they got towed up by Edinburgh, didn't they? Edinburgh looked bloody good.
Yeah, which is weird because they were rubbish last week.
One of my favourite players in the Northern Hemisphere is Van der Meer.
He's just switched clubs because Worcester went broke. And his former club, Edinburgh, was like, come back. And he was like, okay.
Yeah, well, you're going to pay me? I'll come back.
Basically.
He's
a unit. He's another one of those guys who runs too fast for a man his build. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he doesn't look like he should be able to move that fast.
He's like a bumblebee. The physics just don't make
it doesn't
sense.
make sense. Your brain can't really compute it when it sees what's happening.
Yeah. No, but he looks like a quality internationally, like world-class player, doesn't he?
Yeah, and on the other wing you got Darcy Graham, who's like the opposite build, who's just incredibly nimble and he's been scoring tries for fun.
Yeah, they had 3 losses on a trot coming into this game, didn't they, or something like that? 2
at least
losses.
A couple. They lost last week, yeah.
So they needed to
bounce back, and they sure did. So.
Yeah, they did, and they looked. I didn't see why they. I couldn't believe the Ospreys won, and
they drew.
All right, I couldn't believe that was the result, and I couldn't believe the fact that Edinburgh hadn't had such a good season because they looked like one of the best teams that I'd seen in the URC so far, and I'm very experienced in the URC.
Well, it's only in its 2nd season, so nobody's really that experienced.
Well, I'm particularly experienced.
What is going to be interesting with the URC this season is that they've also got the European club competition. Now, all the European teams have always had that, so your competition takes a break, and you go to Europe and you play the French
the
teams and the
Heineken
English
Cup,
teams.
yeah?
Heineken Cup, basically.
Yeah.
I think it's called the Champions Cup now.
Right.
But another one of those ones, if you search it, Heineken Cup is still really high in the search results.
And
But
Heineken sponsor the Champions League.
I think they also sponsor the Champions Cup. I'm not sure if they're still a current sponsor. I know they were for a while.
Okay.
But anyway, the South African teams last year were able to focus solely on the URC and won the bloody thing. But now they've got that issue of having to compete in multiple competitions as well. You've got to kind of spread your players out. Because that's one thing about the URC and what it used to be was the Pro 14. Is sometimes I would tune in one week and go, right, Leinster, let's watch Johnny Sexton and all these Irish internationals. I'm like, who the fuck are these guys? I have no idea, because they would just send their B team to Italy.
Just a bunch of third stringers, basically.
And their third stringers would still probably win. But you know what I mean? It was one of those ones because they were saving their players for the next week. So how the South African teams handle that's going to be interesting.
We don't have
Super Rugby is... That's the sole focus. Yeah.
That's it. We don't actually have anything greater than that. I'd like to see us. That's the one thing that I would really like to see. That's I don't know. They're never going to work it out. Probably is how they actually have a global club competition. Like I want to see Leinster play the Crusaders.
Yeah.
I want to see the Blues play.
Zebra.
Yeah, like that. Like those would be great games. You know. And show them.
I think that they've been talking about it for years.
No,
Someone at World Rugby mentioned it a while back.
I don't think they're actually going to get their shit together though.
It's just too many private clubs.
Yeah.
They can't agree on the global calendar thing.
No.
But I mean, the calendar is better than what it used to be.
Yeah. Well, they've managed to make it work for these South African teams, even though the fact that it's not in a great season, is it?
No, it's a reversal of seasons. So
yeah, we would never have done that, would we?
I don't think so.
It's just the travel. The travel factor is too great
With
for New Zealand to play like a round robin. Like
even Australia's 3 hours away.
Yeah, it's a bugger getting to Australia. Well, not a bugger, but it's
even like staying up with my dad, who's a rugby diehard, albeit he's getting on. He's in his 70s. He won't stay up to watch games that are played in Australia because they played in Australia at like 7 something at night. It's like 10 over here.
Does he wake up in the morning and pretend?
He'll watch it. I mean, he doesn't care if he knows the result. He'll still watch it.
All right.
But he doesn't stay up till midnight watching the games.
Will he watch a game that he knows the All Blacks have lost?
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah. He'll go back and watch it again.
He's a masochist.
You could say that.
Yeah, I can't do that. If I have to go to a party or something, or I'm doing something else, I just try to avoid the result. But ultimately, he'll get spoiled or something, then I just can't watch it. I can't even watch the highlights. Like,
can't bring yourself to do it.
No, I just care too much. I'm all heart.
You care about the Wallabies?
Not a huge amount. I don't. They're a weird team because when in the 90s and early 2000s, it's like just crush them.
I hated them.
Yeah, because they used to get out these heartbreaking wins against us, and they
4 more years.
Yeah, 4 more years. George Gregan getting us. They beat us in the '91 World Cup, beat us in the '99 World Cup, and had it was pretty 50-50 in terms of the Bledisloe load.
Yeah.
But the relationship has gone from crush them to be gone. You know how like your little brother, you don't have a little brother.
I have an older brother.
You have an older brother, but there'll be times
I was the one doing that to their older
you'd
brother.
have like you give them such a pounding, and then they'd stay down a little too long. You'd be like, hey, are you alright?
You're right.
You're right. Come
you
on.
need me to get mum?
Yeah, exactly. You okay? Can you see? And it's kind of like that. It's like I know they've got some bloody good players, and I think they're capable of beating bloody anyone on their day. But just the whole landscape in terms of the Australian game, in terms of the fans, in terms of the players coming through, it's all on the down. Like, and it has been on the down for ages. So they're just a little bit of a worry because I think it's self-interested at the end of the day, because I think for All Black rugby to be strong, we need a really, really strong rival just across the ditch.
Their club game seems to get massive fan turnouts. I don't get it. Like, when I've gone to the club games over here, it's pretty dead.
Because it's got so much more history to it.
Yeah. There's that local rivalry, it's genuine feelings.
Yeah, like
but then Super Rugby,
plays whoever,
And you'll see Super Rugby, and it's a bit less than 10,000 people kind of thing.
Yeah.
But what I was trying to get onto was
the squad.
The squad, yeah. Because I mean, the big news, I guess, is Michael Hooper is back. Finally.
Good on him.
I mean, yeah, good to see he's back.
Yeah.
He's not captain.
He's not captain.
Slipper's still captain.
Right. Well, let's just see how that goes. Like, I wonder if it's like this thing has probably happened before, but we just never known about it. Like somebody has had mental health issues, and they've just
Who was
gone.
the All
He's
Black? Was it Dixon who was like
What'd you call me?
Liam Dixon?
Did he have mental health issues?
Yeah, he with the last World Cup, he
Yeah.
kind of pulled out of the squad. Said he wasn't. He said he wasn't going to be available, and then he kind of went to Steve Hansen and said, "Look, if you guys get injuries, then I'll make myself available." But they didn't end up calling him up.
Yeah, right. Well, even like back in the day, Brad Thorne said no to an All Black jersey. Like the first time he ever got selected.
Really?
Yeah, he hadn't been in the game for that long because he came across from the Broncos.
Yeah.
Pardon me. And he said something along the lines of he didn't think he deserved it. You know, he didn't know why. And he turned it down. But then went on to become incredible. Like, so, but I still think there's probably been a lot gone on in the background where they've said, somebody's really struggling as people do with their mental health.
Yeah.
And also in this environment where you're so on show and it's so public and
he's
so
the
much
captain. He's the one
pressure.
having to front every game, press
So
conferences,
it's
all
gotta,
that stuff.
it's got to get to people. But I think there'll be a lot of times that they're just going, oh yeah, he's got a quad strain, or he's he's pulled a groin.
So you reckon Hoops or other players in the past have been kind of pulled out if they're not 100% right, but they've never really been so open about it?
No, and I think that's what needs to be applauded from this whole Hooper situation. The fact that, the more that we actually talk about it as a society and say that and acknowledge it, and even people in the public eye doing it, like that takes enormous bravery to be able to do that, and it actually just enables other men and other people in sort of roles that would be deemed that they wouldn't be able to previously acknowledge it and actually do themselves some real damage, and the damage that comes from that sort of stuff can be fatal, sadly.
Exactly.
So the fact he's actually come out and well, not come out, but just it's been acknowledged, they've talked about it, it's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing stuff, and I think they'll go back and he'll go down as a bit of a pioneer for this, for
similar to what I guess we've got JK over here, the way he talks about it as openly as he does.
Yeah.
He never talked about it when he was a player, but he talked about it certainly a lot after his career.
Yeah, in his book, All Blacks Don't Cry, he talked about the fact he had panic attacks on the field.
That's crazy,
That's absolutely bananas.
Yeah.
So, good on him. But and look, he's despite all the mental health stuff, he's a hell of a player.
Yeah. And there's so many times when I felt really sorry for him because you've just watched the Wallabies maybe play a bit shit. They've been beaten. He's played out of his skin. And he's having to give an interview like, what do you think went wrong here? And you feel like he just wants to say, I'm playing with a bunch of losers. If they were all as good as me, then we'd be good as gold.
Yeah, and he busts his ass.
Yeah.
He was, and he was like, well, basically, if the standard was higher of the average player, we'd be in a better situation. But
but he's back, which is great news, and hopefully he's enjoying his rugby. That's the main thing.
Out?
There's a few guys that have been injured, like Big Pone Fa'amosili is one of my favourite props because he just loves a big ball carry. Yeah. Got injured on the Aussie A tour. There's still guys like your guy, Rob Leota of the Lucy, he's still injured. But in terms of just selections, I think Harry Wilson, the number 8, he's been kind of snubbed. And then Suliasi Vunivalu, who you may be able to give me more insights into as a league player.
He's a great league player, just a phenomenal athlete.
I keep comparing him with RTS because they both came over to rugby union at about the same time. Yeah. They both had, I don't know about Suliasi, but I know relatively successful league careers. Yeah, RTS is a massive name over here in NZ.
He's not as big as RTS,
but he's younger, isn't he?
Yeah, I'm not sure what his age is, but didn't have as long a career. He didn't like the Deli M or anything.
Right.
The Deli M is the big award, the player of the year
kind of
for the whole league. He's just a very good flying Fijian winger. The club he came from seems to produce quite often. Okay. Came from the same club, Melbourne Storm.
So Korobedi used to be there, right?
Korobedi, Israel Folau used to be there.
Really?
Yeah. So they've got old Bellamy.
It's a bit of a factory. Production line.
He gets them.
Okay.
And he's just a flyer, fantastic in the air.
But he can't quite crack it with the Wallabies just yet. He's not really set the world alight, but he's had injuries and he's had a bit like RTS. He's had a disrupted crossover.
He was never a superstar in the game of league. He was a very good player, but not RTS. RTS was legit.
Like the best player in the NRL.
Yeah. Well, he got
for 1 year.
He got Deli in 1 year, which is a massive achievement. Yeah. When you think of when
he's playing for the Warriors as well, right?
Yeah, well, he's playing for the Warriors. So all right, if there's so much you can talk about in terms of league, about the standard of league, but the standard of Australian league is much higher than the standard of Australian rugby.
Right.
In terms of the average athlete in the Wallabies versus the Kangaroos.
Yeah.
The Kangaroos have the far better athlete.
Right. Well, there's just so many more teams as well, right? It's just a much bigger game. Like
It's
there's
a much
only
bigger
5 Super Rugby teams in Australia, whereas how many NRL teams are there? Like
A lot. And there's a ton in Sydney, you know, like, and it's a bit... It's as a league fan, I love it. I love to see all those things, but you think to yourself, man, how
if this
good,
guy was playing Union,
how good would Australia be? And they almost got, like, back in the day, they almost got Andrew Johns. Have you heard that name before? Andrew Johns.
Even I know him. So
yeah, but they have caught a few of the big guys and brought them over. So I don't know. It's it's a shame, but I don't think Vunivalu just is one of those guys that you look at and you're like, he looks like a freak.
Right.
He smells like a freak. Go play like a freak.
Right,
and he can do a little bit of freakish shit.
But he's not been able to quite crack it.
No.
Will Skelton is back, the big behemoth of a man. He's a bit of a weird one in that, like, he was always pretty good when he was based in the Tars.
Yeah.
And then he went over to the UK and lost a bit of weight and seemed to get a bit more mongrel about him. Like someone said to him, "Hey Will, do you know you're a bit fucking human? Like just go bananas." You know what I mean? Like, and he finally realized, oh wait, I can just.
He realized how big he actually was. Yeah. You said he lost a little bit of weight though. Yeah.
Yeah. He was looking a lot leaner, especially when he was at Saracens.
Yeah, right.
He's looking pretty big over in France now. So.
How is he?
But he's not played that well the last couple of times he's played for the Wallabies.
Is this going to be a little bit of a? They've had a hard year so far, the Wallabies.
A lot of injuries.
A lot of injuries. They had a decent England side at home. They didn't have a particular one good victory against South Africa. Australia A, how have they gone?
They won 2 out of 3 against Japan, and then they played pretty well in the Pacific Nations Cup.
So,
yeah,
this could be a tough tour for them.
They've got France, they've got Ireland. Like
I don't even like playing Scotland.
Scotland away is their first one. I mean, Scotland will be without like Finn Russell and the overseas based guys, but still.
I still think Scotland are a team on the up. I really do. I think that they could cause them some headaches. And okay, let's say that this tour goes to absolute custard for the Aussies. They shit the bed totally. They get 1 win away, right? Or even no wins. What do they do with Rennie?
You can't sack him.
You don't sack him when he gets no wins in a Northern Hemisphere tour. It's basically, if he gets no wins, you're basically just saying, okay, we're not going to win the World Cup next year. So you might as well give somebody else a crack.
Who do you give a crack?
I don't know, some Aussie bloke.
Dan McKellar, the former Brumbies coach.
Yeah, I like the look
Brad
of him.
Thorne.
Yeah.
Brad Thorne seems to rub some players up the wrong way.
Yeah, I couldn't. If he yelled at me, I couldn't help but be like, "Can I lozenge?" Would you? You know, like, oh, get out there, the John. You know that voice.
He's got a bit of a raspy voice.
Yeah, it's a league thing actually for whatever reason.
Is that right?
I don't know what. Him, Darren Lockyer, and Stephen Price.
Oh, they all speak the same way.
They just have no voice. It's gone. They sound like they've been smoking a pack at Dunhills for 20 years.
Yeah, maybe they have.
Yeah, well, I don't think he would have achieved what he achieved. 3 very good players there. Do you know those names?
Yeah, Steve Price runs a supermarket, I think, up in Northland now.
He does. Yeah, he's like a very friendly guy. And Darren Lockyer, you know who he is?
Yeah, I've seen him. Isn't he the coach of one of the Origin teams, or was he coach of one of them?
No, I don't think he was ever coach. Billy Slater is the coach of Queensland right now.
Right.
But he's very...
I know he's got a pretty horrendous voice.
Yeah. But he does... he's got a horrendous voice. But after his playing career, he went into broadcasting.
Nice.
Yeah. Good on him. Great player. Anyway, I'm always trying to shift the conversation into rugby league, which nobody really gives a shit about, do they?
Some people do. The Aussie guys like it.
Yeah. Well, I remember I did my top 10 videos. I'm sorry my recent was taking so long. I did it on best fullbacks, and there were all these people going, "Why aren't there any leagueies in here? Should be Lockyer, Slater,
Because it's a rugby video?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I didn't have any fullbacks from football or American football.
Yeah.
I think we discussed the squad there.
We did.
We really did.
I mean, it's largely the same, barring the guys who are up for injury. They've got a few uncapped guys in, but I mean, the biggest calls, it's Hooper back, it's Skelton's back. your league convert Vunivalu's out, and Harry Wilson, one of the promising guys, is out. But
I feel like there's a lot of heat on Reedy as well. You know, be interesting to see how it all unfolds. Yeah,
tough tour. Adi Savia's going to Japan.
Yes,
just for a sabbatical. I noticed like there was 2.
That's not a sabbatical. It's like no. So can we stop calling it a sabbatical? Because a sabbatical is I'm taking time off just to chill and do something.
There has legit been a couple of different ways guys are doing it though. Some guys wait till the end of their contract, bugger off to Japan, come back to New Zealand, and then sign a new contract. So they legit take a break. Where some guys are signed through to the future and then have a clause in that contract that they can take a season.
Oh yeah, bon job.
Of Super Rugby off.
Yeah.
And then I think that's Artie's situation. I think he's genuinely contracted but has a sabbatical clause, and he's going to exercise that clause after the World Cup.
But I think just the term sabbatical.
The Men's World Cup 2023. Just in case you were confused.
After the Men's World Cup in 2023. So in 2024, barring a worldwide pandemic, unless we have the Men's World Cup in 2023 and 2024, he'll be playing.
In Japan.
What team's he playing for?
I forget.
Coca-Cola.
Nope.
Energizer.
Nope.
Kawasaki.
Nope. I don't think they have a team.
You know what's so bad? I was like, think of Japanese words you know, and I said Energizer.
You could have gone with Suzuki
Yeah,
or Toyota, big car brand.
Energizer. That's Japanese as. Oh, God.
The red one.
The red one. Oh, yep. Oh. Hitachi?
No. I know which one it is. If you said the right one, I know I would know it.
Nagasaki?
No.
Somebody,
Somebody tell us in the comments. I'm sorry. It's one league I genuinely have never sat down to watch as the Japanese league one.
Would you watch a final?
I have seen single games before.
I've seen the odd thing, and I do the same thing. I'm like, that guy.
And look, T-Mac's playing for these guys. Or like, oh, it's Israel Folau up against this guy. But and then I would see a bunch of the former Sunwolves guys as well, which was cool.
I saw freaking, not Mark Ellis, the other Ellis. I was watching
Andy Ellis. Playing for New York.
Passing to Nihi Milner Scudder to score a try
in front
of freaking 16 people.
Yeah.
You know, crazy times.
Good times.
Yeah.
No, I loved it when the Sunwolves were in Super Rugby because then I actually was starting to get a handle on, right, this guy is the hooker and the locks for the Japanese team. And
because it's the entertaining style they have.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not Island rugby, it's not New Zealand rugby, but it's
really high tempo.
It's high tempo, it's
like
high
amazing
energy.
pass.
Yeah. So it's just great to know that there's more than just that Northern European upfront style.
Yeah, we're literally not going to go. We don't want any set piece. We're just going to tap and keep going. We don't want lineouts and scrums.
If we can expand the game, who knows what freaking, what that Spanish flair would bring to the game and all that sort of shit. Exactly. I want to know. I want to know, World Rugby. Tell me. Show me. Let's make it bigger.
I think that's all the rugby.
We did it. We covered all the rugby.
We did.
We had a good 10-minute camera break there.
We did.
But I feel like we got through that relatively quickly. We did talk about, in your last live stream, that people were saying... No, I think you said I was saying you had troubles with your ITV or some shit.
Yes.
Yeah. And I said, what you to mind? You do the Spark. Do for maybe the business end of the season. We'll do a
semi or a final. We should do a joint live.
It'll be on your channel.
But it'll be using your Spark account at your house.
Absolutely. It'll be on my couch. That's right. I'll just...
Drinking your beer.
And I'll be
using your power.
I'll be disinfecting that couch. Very good for you. Just don't get one of those black light.
Oh, Wasps, by the way, were in administration.
Yes, no. Were they this time last week? Or there was actually...
They were going into it last week and they missed their game at the weekend. So there's 2 clubs down.
That's a great club as well.
Yeah, I know.
Great club. Brutal. Warren Gatland kind of made his name there, didn't he, originally?
Yeah. Man, that's a good insight. How'd you get that?
Just followed rugby for a long time.
Nice. Yeah, there's been a bunch of guys who've gone over and played at Wasps as well. Because that's... Before I ever watched European rugby, you'd watch and be like, oh...
Was Mark Johnson a Wasp player? I know Delalio
He was Leicester. Yeah, Delalio was Wasps. I think that was their big rivalry. But when Piatel would go to Wasps or Fekitoa was at Wasps, it was like, oh yeah. Jimmy Gopeth was at Wasps,
I think Jimmy Gopeth played for fucking everybody.
He's still playing.
How could he not? Well, great work.
Yeah.
Fantastic stuff. Do you have has there been any more updates in your parents' matrimonial story? Have we put that
nothing.
to bed now?
It's done.
It's done. That was a good.
Well done, Dad.
Picked up a classy broad there. Great stuff.
Married her when she was 19 years old.
Boom! And she stuck around.
Stuck around.
Against all odds, eh?
Still there.
Good for her. Good for her.
Good job, Mum.
Good job.
Get the patience of a saint.
His mum and dad. That's fantastic. I love a happy ending.